Support for the podcast this week comes from Grouse Mountain, the Peak of Vancouver, Dakine Outerwear, and Tribute Board Shop in Nelson, BC. This week's guest is MFM.
It was a totally fun time, didn't get too gnarly.
I kind of look at the Mystery Air as an improved evolution of the Switchblade.
Snowboarding is ours.
Obviously I like working with Burton.
As an old school snowboarder, you get so used to being treated as a second-class citizen.
And I was like, how do you spell your last name? He said Kelly. And I was like, oh, we should get married. And he's like, no, too symmetrical.
Like, there's people that actually hate, and the thing about that is subconsciously, like, your subconscious is a million times more powerful than your conscious, awake decision-making mind, right? Like, and
yeah.
So if subconsciously you're hating on anybody else, like talking crap and being a hater, and just criticizing, well, you will never, ever, ever, ever come close to that kind of success or that level of anything, because subconsciously you're going to sabotage yourself, because subconsciously you don't want to be the person that's hated on. Nobody wants to be hated.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I was talking about it with Dan Pendergrass. He was talking about Devin Walsh. And what a lot of people don't know about Devin Walsh is that motherfucker can design a board. Also, in the Kevin Young episode, Kevin Young was like Chip Wilson, who started West Beach. Chip saw Devin and just went like, that kid's got good style. Like, I want that guy to help me design the clothes for West Beach.
Yeah.
Right? Like, Devin didn't go around hating on people. Devin's like the opposite of that. He just loves snowboarding. So if he sees a pocket of, like, I don't know. Now I'm talking for Devin. I'm not, and I don't know. I just don't, I don't see him operating in a zone of hating. And those dudes that do operate in a zone of hating, they're not at the top of any game. Yeah, they're just holding themselves down. They're really hating on themselves somehow, right? That's what I hear you saying. It makes sense.
Well, yeah. And are we recording right now even already?
Let's see. Yeah.
Will this go off?
Yeah, we're good. I just got my levels kind of now.
Okay. Just because, you could start it however you want, or I don't know what we need to do, but
I think the best place to start for me, like the most honest spot, like that makes it easy for me to relate to because I'm a bit of a fan. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a bit of a dorky fan, and I can I can definitely get to the point where I'm like fanning out on somebody, and it really I feel like I share a kinship with people when they talk about where they started, right? Like, where were you when you first got a board? And what kind of board was that? Because I was a kid. I had a Black Snow, and then my first pro board was like an Avalanche Damien 175 when I was like a little kid. Where were you? You were in Colorado?
Yeah, I was. I was just a skater.
Rad.
I think like 15.
Yeah.
And I don't know where my friends. Well, the first time I ever tried going, I borrowed a snowboard from my friend, his big brother, because my sister was dating this dude, and they were gonna go skiing.
Rad.
And my sister let me tag along, so I borrowed this snowboard and just got some Sorels, and it was a Burton Elite.
Rad.
151, like with that little metal thing sticking out the bottom.
Yeah, the fins.
And that's what he had. And so I went and tried, but they were skiing, and I just tried to teach myself. In the very first run, I fell, and the board got caught in a little ditch. I fell over in that ditch, and the nose got, that long ass nose and just a small ass tail. The nose got dug down in the thing, but my body kept turning, so I blew my knee out right off the bat.
Oh.
And I was fucking pissed, man. Like, because beginning of the day, and they just decided I was all hurt, and I just went to the car and sat there and waited for him all day with a blown out knee. I was so pissed because I was more pissed that it took me away from skating for like 3 months because I had to wear this stupid ass knee brace the whole time.
Oh man!
And I was like, that was my very first snowboarding experience. So I was like, fuck snowboarding, it's just so gay,
Yeah.
I was like, stupid snowboarding is gay anyway. Freaking skate. I'm a skater, and I just never went for 2 years until, and I never went again. I like threw it away, basically, like threw the idea away, and I didn't go until my junior year in high school because they had this program to get in the inner city kids up to the mountains. And so by then I had met a couple other skaters, and they were all like, they were already into snowboarding. So they're like, no, come on, man. No way. It's fun, dude. I'm telling you. And I'm like, not even, dude. And I skipped the first time, but finally they talked me into it. And then when I had somebody actually teaching me, I got, did pretty good. And then I was like, holy crap, but that wasn't, I didn't start until my junior year in high school.
Right. And you'd already had 2 years of just hating on it, which was proper for skateboarding at the time. I was kind of torn between skating, which I love so much, but it was like so cold up where I lived in the winter that you would break your kingpin, like your wheels would be too hard. You'd get hurt. It'd be cold. And so like bundling up in like some gear and wearing some boots and going out. And for us, the first year of snowboarding was like, we didn't have any hills. So like no mountains. We just had like little tiny, we'd go to where there were cliffs and we would build a fire at the bottom and we'd have a bonfire. And then we would jump off little cliffs to flat and be like, this is the best. It's so badass. But a good part of it was like being with your buddies around a fire. You know what I mean? Out in the back, hills of our little town. But once we were allowed on the ski resorts and that was almost right away. I started in like 89, maybe 88, 89. Like I could do stuff on a snowboard that I wished I could do on a skateboard. And that's why I understood. Yeah, people from skating hating on snowboarding. It's like, you're spending your whole time going, oh my God, you see how big I just went? And people are like, yeah, that was the time when it was really harsh. All the skaters, were just bagging on the snowboarders, and so they were like too cool for school. I remember. Yeah, snowboarding has that kind of like that little brother syndrome. Hey, like we're always in the shadow of skateboarding, I think, and just like coolness and like legit. You could be a skater and live in a tent and eat ketchup on rice and fucking rip. Snowboarder, you couldn't do the same thing. Some people like camp out and hike up, and that's cool, but it's just not as accessible as skateboarding for sure.
Well, I even realized that after the effects of being closed-minded like that, like there's a saying around some of my successful friends that are like, man, core is poor, because like the core heads are just too cool for everything, right? Against anything corporate, any savvy business money kind of thing, it's like, anything, that kind of mess with that kind of, totally messed with.
I could see that mess with people in Vancouver for sure. I remember skating a place called the Crack Pipe, which was just like this ghetto spot with an amazing ramp. It was like 110 feet wide or something, mini ramp. It was so fun. It was like snowboarding on a skateboard because like you had to travel down the pipe, you know what I mean, like on angles. It was so sick. And when Sluggo showed up, and I think he was driving a Mercedes, there were like the core dudes that lived under the ramp or like in the space with the ramp were like, fuck that dude. And I was like, fuck him, why? Because he has a nice car? Don't you want to have a nice car? Like, you guys really don't want to have a nice car. That's fucked up.
Oh, it's wild. And I was like, I don't know, not the opposite, but like, one thing I realized later, sometime in snowboarding, it was like when I moved up to the mountains, that's how the skiers would look at snowboarders like, look at this broke couch surfing dude, like, I didn't like that either. So I'm like, that made me hungry to want to, show them that I'm smarter, more successful. Like, I can have everything they have and more. And, like the competitive side, right? I'm like, these guys have all this money up here, right? All this opportunity. They're not smarter. They're not funnier. They have less charisma. Yeah. Like, I'm going to see, I wanted to meet people and know what they knew and all that stuff. Like, I hadn't even read the books yet, but I was like, I knew there was stuff to be had.
You were down for that. What was your first sponsorship set up? Like when did you kind of like rise above the crowd as a snowboarder? That's, I mean, like I said before when we were talking, I remember you for your style. Like you were influential style snowboarder. So where does that come from? Is that, it seems to come from a bit of that swagger of like owning who you are and like claiming that you're going to be big, which you were. Like, that's dope. Where does that come from? When does that start?
When does it start? You know, I think when you start believing in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But after a while, like you get older and you start to care more about what other people think about you, and it takes some of that stuff away. But I stepped in. I didn't really care what people thought about me in snowboarding because I was like the inner city kind of ghetto kid, and I could tell they didn't like us up there. Like we would come up there with the loud ass cars, you know, rap music, and they're just like looking at us like you don't even belong up here, you know. Like that made me hungrier to talk crap about it. Because I'm like, look, man, you know, there's a bunch of, maybe I just kind of at first kind of looked at it like, you know, a bunch of rich kids. Man, they don't even, you know, it's hard. It's I don't know. We wanted to be up there.
Yeah, you were in a crazy spot. Like when I think of Colorado, I think of Aspen. I think of money. I think of like tourists. You know what I'm saying?
I know.
When you said there was a program for inner city kids, I'm like, inner city kids from Aspen? Like, I literally am that naive where I think of Colorado as like money, dude.
Yeah. Oh man, exactly. Okay, so see, every state, every city has a hood and has you know, the city part, interstate. So I'm from Denver.
Right.
I'm from Northwest Denver.
Okay.
So that's like, it's really, and hopefully one day, you know, I can do my part to somehow. It's just, man, it's so hard to influence, you know, those resorts up there that cost $100 a lift ticket and all that stuff.
Right.
Just insanity, man. Like it upsets you, but
yep.
You know, for us, like snowboarding was just so inaccessible, you know, like, but they came out with these deals. I don't know how, you know, with the school programs, and
yep.
I remember specifically like a, you know, $20-something ski lift ticket or whatever, and it was like super hard for my mom to come up with that dough.
Wow.
And but yeah, like, see, especially with what I do now, I coach a lot of mindset and business stuff, and it's like nobody can give me excuses because I found a way.
Right.
Like I literally, we didn't have any money. But once I got hooked, I met people with cars. I didn't have a car. You know, they didn't have money for gas, so I would steal the gas. Like, we'd have to steal our lunch, you know, our food. I would help. I helped the dude out with a car. He had a car, and I would, you know, back then you didn't have to pay for your gas up front with a credit card. You literally pay, and then you walk in and you pump, and then you walk in and pay for your gas.
Yeah, yeah.
So like we pump it full, and then, you know, I had like duct tape over the license plates and take off down the alley and stuff like that. Kind of,
you
like,
really did that for real. That's incredible.
Oh man, you know, I didn't, and not out of being evil. It's just you do what you gotta do, and like
necessity,
we didn't
right.
really.
Yeah, we used to clip tickets in the parking lot, even though we could, you know, like we'd get freebies. They'd give us 2 free for the shop, and we'd show up with 6 people. And then we would just take like snips and cut people's lift tickets as they were walking out. Like, hey, can we take your ticket? You're going home anyways. And they'd be like,
exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
And
that's
there was always a
it.
hustle. Yeah, there was always a hustle, but it didn't feel like we were like hardened criminals hustling. It felt like, and I'm not comparing myself to you guys, because we were just like assholes that lived in Vancouver that, I don't know, we didn't want to work harder, you know, to make more money to go snowboarding. The only thing that mattered to us was, you know, going snowboarding. So we just made it work the way that, however we could make it work. I remember companies putting like a clip, like a snap on the belt loop of the pants, so that you could like unsnap you put your lift ticket on, the guy tugs on it, to make sure you put it on, and then you unsnap it, and the other guy you give it to your friend, and he can put it on his pants. Like companies did that. You know what I mean? Like what the fuck is that?
Yeah, resourcefulness, man. Like that. That's how I went pro. I didn't pay for. Well, I still don't pay for lift tickets. But
incredible.
like seriously, first 10 years, easy. Because I even got jobs around wanting to snowboard. I delivered pizzas in the hood.
Yeah,
it was so sketchy. I carried weapons on me and a freaking spotlight for my car because they try to jack the delivery guy.
Shit.
And so I'd spot out the thing, the house first. But like I got a delivery job because then I could work from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m.
Yeah. And
then I'd get my sleep in because you couldn't go anyway until after 12:30 when everybody's done, and then you go clip the ticket.
Right.
So that was like for 8-10 years straight of that.
That's absolutely amazing. Yeah, see, because you have a persona from, the industry would take a guy like you, link you up with a company, and then there would be marketing based around this. But I didn't know what was real, Like, consumers don't know, like, is Marc Frank a fucking ghetto rat that's actually doing bad shit? Or is he just, like, a trust fund kid like us, like everyone with a middle-class family that could afford to send them snowboarding, that just chooses to put on a badass persona? But you were the real deal. Like that was you. Like that's fucked up. Like I've never held a gun in my life. Well, one time out in the bush on a reserve or whatever, shot at cans. But I've never ever had to think of my safety in any capacity. Just wandering around the world, right?
Yeah, it don't get no more real than what goes on over here.
That's crazy.
Not anymore. Not over here, but like
No, I understand.
Before, like I was just young and dumb, but then I really like now I didn't know what I did when I did it, but now I know like from reading all the books exactly what I did. Like for instance, like I changed my environment, so the skateboard literally helped me change my environment because all my friends were gang members.
Right.
But we all were skating before high school, but then once high school hit, they wanted to be good at something else, and I stuck in skateboarding. So it literally saved my life. And then from there I met, skaters downtown, and they weren't into, hurting people and all that stuff.
How do you get away from the fact that it's so difficult to not join a gang in that situation? Like, if you've got friends that are going in and they're pressuring you to be that way, you just like literally switch your life to another part of town? Is that it? Like you leave and you skate somewhere else?
It's not even pressure. It's like they call it peer pressure, I guess. But like, man, it's just like, you want to be part of whatever you're around and all that stuff, and try to be cool for everyone. But I already knew I was, not scared of things, and I think it comes down to like, there's too much to list as far as environment. But my mom was like, I don't know, man. She's like, I didn't understand how they didn't understand that, like I don't get what you don't get. That's like, not understanding that like shooting at people and stabbing and robbing, like, is bad. How do you not understand? Like this was not right. So and then it made it really easy because if you find your passion, I just wanted to do that. So we would literally go downtown, and I would like, all my friends were like stealing the other guys' skateboards. Like we'd skate downtown over the bridge, and then like all the suburban kids would go there too to skate. Yeah. And but they were better than us, so I was like, I would start sticking up for him. I'm like, don't take that dude's board, man. He's cool. He's good. Right. And I don't know. I just didn't like doing that to people. And so I started meeting friends down there, making friends. And I literally didn't know that back then, but I changed my environment. I started making new friends that kept me out of trouble. And that's where I met Kelly Flynn. And I don't like to talk about it a lot because I'll cry. Like, right. God put that guy in my life to believe in me until I believed in myself.
Okay.
And I didn't talk to anybody. I was kind of quiet. Like, this dude could talk to everybody for me and got me my first sponsor and all that.
That's right. Okay, I'm totally naive. Who's Kelly Flynn? Was he a part of a company? Is he just a buddy of yours?
No, not anymore. But like so I met him downtown, and then I found out that we went to the same school because I saw him at the school, and this was a school outside of high school on the side, like a couple blocks away. That was for people that weren't going to go to college.
I gotcha.
It was called Career Education Center, CEC. So he was there for photography.
Rad.
And I was there because I was a dummy. I didn't know what I was going to do because I didn't like anything. And I was there for like mechanics class and carpentry and like.
Sure.
But I was like, no way, you go here, you know. And so he was learning photography. He wanted to take pictures. So he was like, we should take some pictures. And then, you know, I was like, okay, you know, whatever. But then, like, literally took this guy 4 to 5 years of trying to tell me. He kept telling me, like, dude, you're like good, man. You're good. You should be sponsored.
Right.
Like he kept saying not stupid stuff, like stuff. And
yeah,
I didn't believe him. I was like, nah, you know, I just thought he was full of shit. And he kept saying it, man. And like, finally he was like, no, I'm telling you, man, like, I'm going to talk to some people for you.
Dope.
And he literally would speak for me, like, just because of the goodness of that. Like, that was a different experience from all my other friends that would steal money and drugs from me. And
right.
You know, like just like, I couldn't believe it.
That's fucking cool, dude. Okay, that's awesome. So does he end up being a photographer down the road for like skating, snowboarding kind of stuff?
Yeah, yep. And then he started, you know, he was like a total natural networker and
rad.
Would talk to everybody and, you know, make these angles and get free product. And he was sponsored, so he'd give me the same like free boards and stuff. And then he wanted to, like, he was trying to make money selling photographs, so he kept photographing me, which pushed me to want to do better. And, you know, I liked seeing myself. And so he had the car, man, and I had to like I would create the resourcefulness to get to the mountain because pretty soon he wanted to do snowboarding. And
what was the first board sponsor that he got you hooked up on?
He got me so it wasn't my first snowboard, but the first free one I got was a Tarquin Robbins.
Sick. Oh, that's so sick.
The one with the shotgun.
The shotgun. Man. Oh, dude, that's epic.
That I know. I wish I had that, man. It was my first free snowboard. I'll never forget it. I couldn't even believe it.
That's incredible. Well, was Tarquin up there at that time? Because he moved up to Colorado around.
Yeah, he's the one that made me want to, like, him and Jay Nelson and these guys doing skateboard tricks on their snowboards is what I wanted to do.
Rad. Yeah, there was a really influential group of people in Colorado at that point like, they were getting in the magazines and they were getting in the movies. I remember Anthem. I forget who made Anthem, but Anthem had a lot of dudes from Colorado.
That's the movie that really made me after it. Yeah,
me too, dude. I remember watching that in the shop over and over again, and the animation and just everything about that movie was like, we wanted to be like that. It was like fat pants and just fucking jibbing everything and giving zero shits. That was a good movie.
Yeah.
So you get on, so that's on, that Tarquin boards was Evol, right? Is that who that was?
No, that was that was an Aggression.
Aggression. Oh, shit, yeah.
Here in Colorado.
Yeah, Aggression. That's sick. And so you're just getting flow boards kind of like tangentially through your photographer guy. And did you get like some photos published? Did he like get some into some magazines and shit?
Oh, wait, hold on. No. So, well, it was half Kelly and half this other dude that we were hitting this jump on the top of Loveland, and I like hit it crazy, stupid big, like on accident. It was like just out of control, but I'm pretty tough, like get back up, you know, crashing super hard, go back up there. He's like, dude, you're good, man. I should. And he was getting free boards. He's like, I'm gonna, you know, I get free boards. I'm gonna get you a free one. Oh, because he watched me crack my good and fruity. That's right. So,
oh, rad.
dude. So we like my the people that I go up with too. Sometimes my other friends would like take snowboards, and one of them took this snowboard from a contest. It was a Lamar, made by Lamar, but the Good and Fruity Candy Company made a Good and Fruity board, and somehow I got my hands on that board, and we T-bolted it, and I made it into like a new school board. And that guy watched me break my board, so I didn't have crap. Then I was all kind of bummed, and he's like, "Dude, I'm gonna try to get you a free board. I ride for Aggression."
Rad.
So then Kelly was talking to those guys, and I ended up getting a board.
That's fucking dope, dude. Especially that it's a Good and Fruity. I'm like, yeah, fucking MFM on an Aggression. That's badass. But on a Good and Fruity, I don't know. It's not as good. It's not as core, man. But it's pretty dope. I know, right? I like that you cut it down. There was some wacky shit around that time. Hey, like, just Crazy Banana and Smelly Tuna and all that shit was going.
Yeah, I cut it down, painted it white.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's killer. That's fucking killer, dude. So how does it go from there? Because Aggression only lasts a couple of years, right? I don't know who was behind that company. Who was the dude behind Aggression?
Yeah. Then, I don't know. There's a lot of time in between there. Like, I was down in Denver just trying to make it, struggling. I would, do. I don't like to talk about it. I don't endorse any of that stuff, but like whatever it took to make money.
Right.
And luckily through snowboarding, through Kelly Flynn, I met this other Christian friends that literally would give me the shirt off their back, and they're such loving, giving people that was my real first experience of really quality people that would literally like they're there to serve, and they let me move in with them up in Vail.
Wow.
Like they're like, we're gonna take a year off of not go to college this year so we can go be ski bums. And I started I was able to move up there with him, and there was like 5 of us in a 2-bedroom house. But
rad. And you weren't ever that dude that was tempted to like jack their shit or anything like that. Like while you're up in Vail, you're like,
hell no,
this shit's behind me. I'm not doing this shit anymore. Like I'm blessed. This is my new life.
Like they're the type of people that you definitely would never do any like. Yeah. And it's not like you don't even have that mindset to like jack people or anything. It's more like you'll justify stupid things.
Yeah.
I'm talking like selling, like stealing things, selling whatever, like little things that you think don't do harm.
Yeah, totally.
But that's how I got by, basically.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fucked up. But I mean, not fucked up like it's fucked up for my life. You know what I mean? Like I've never gotten to that point in my life where what am I talking about? Yeah, for sure. When you're a scrub kid, you make sketchy decisions. And
you don't know any better.
And you don't know any better, and you're not doing it but you do internalize that shit a little bit, right? Like, I know I've been at parties in Whistler with my old boss's friends and stuff where I'm in like ghetto, stinky snowboard clothing going like, I don't deserve to be around these people. Like, for sure not. Why am I here? And then, it's just like a part of being a kid, it feels like. I'm relating to you, but like I can't claim any hardship, man. I've had a very easy life. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
totally. So I don't want to hop forward all the way to Sims, but like there has to be a point in there. It's got to be Tech 9 days, right, where you're getting footage.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, once I moved up to Vail, I started meeting all kinds of other people, and that's where I met the Tech 9 dudes. They had moved up there from New York, and of course I fit right in.
yeah. Because that was the thing. I don't want to get hurt or anything by saying this, but it felt like the Tech Nine dudes were like kind of fake gangsters from New York. Like they were kind of into that shit, but like as a lifestyle, sort of like watching movies like Juice or something and being like, yeah, we're hard, right? But
I mean, you know, Ethan, they were from New York, or you know, or Ethan was and his dad, but Cole was like starting to hang with them too, and like everybody met up in Vail, and they were just into hip hop, you know,
right?
But they were real, like Cole, man. That was I'll never forget. Like I was like, these dudes, I like these dudes. They're real, like because the first time I ever met, like we kind of we're like, yeah, right on, you know, we should go out. Let's go out tonight. So we go to the bus stop up there in Vail, and we all immediately get into a fight with some douchebag skier dude, like and I don't know if I should even say this, man, but like I saw this, you know, we got in this big fight with a couple dudes, and I won't name names, but he kicked him right in the face. You know, once it was down, like, all right, he's real head. Like, wow. You know, at that time, I thought, you know, okay, that's not the right mentality, of course, today. But
no, I hear where you're coming from.
But he wasn't scared, you know, and he wasn't scared to, you know, have his friends' backs, and you know, like it was a legit battle. And you know, like,
so because I met the guys from Tech Nine, because Tech Nine Bindings. The guy that I worked for up in Vancouver, he distributed Tech Nine for a while, just before the boards, when it was just bindings. And maybe it was the dude's dad. He seemed like a legitimately cool fucking guy. The bindings were a little tiny bit ghetto at the time compared to like what was coming out. So it was always like a bit of a struggle with Tech Nine, that we were like, you know, trying to push these bindings that were maybe like one generation behind in technology, but like had like ads in the magazines and shit. Like they had legitimate riders on their program. It was like, they fucking work. Bindings are the least important part of your kit anyways. So fucking, you know, you may as well get these Tech Nines. We could sell them to you cheap. Like, and we just put them on everything. But then by the time Tech Nine got to boards, it started to get squirrely, right? Like I remember the dudes maybe running out of money, or
things get, of course, this is business, and things get ups and downs and all that stuff. They've been through a lot.
Yeah, their first generation of boards kind of fell apart a little bit, and that was like eating into like the profitability of the, you know, like my boss was like the profit guy. He's like, he knows the margins, he knows what he's got to get the money together for, you know, what the bindings have to sell for this amount, and that means he's got to land them for this, including all that. And I was just the guy like riding them, going, they need to upgrade their buckles or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want a softer high back or something. But I forgot that Tech Nine was that company. They did really well with bindings for a few years in there, man. And is that where you meet Whitey? Do you meet Whitey through that?
No, later on, like basically once I moved to Utah, man. Like I moved out to Vail for the first year. Like that was my first year, really like starting to get better and learn more and all that stuff. But you know, then a little bit of struggle. Went back to Denver, tried to figure things out. And then my friend Frank was like, "Oh man." You know, because I was starting to get pretty good. He's like, "Oh, dude, you want to see some real stuff? You need to see Snowbird." Okay. So he knew it was snowing, and he literally, we drove up in his Volkswagen Rabbit, and we caught Snowbird on a good day, like a powder day, and I was like, "Holy shit,
rad!
I need to be here. Like I need to. I don't know how." But I need to be here. And then randomly, man, when we were up there hanging out, there was some dudes, which became the best years of my life. Like my friends Sean, Justice, Micah, they let me move in. Sean was from Denver, but he lived out there in Utah already. They let me move into their apartment, and right in that process, I got my first sponsor, which was World.
Nice.
Like my first real paycheck.
Yeah.
and I was able to move up there.
Who was that team? That team was Sean Johnson. Sluggo was on that team.
Yep.
Who else had a board on there? There was a couple on World that were big.
And like, man, that was best years of my life, right? Sick. Like some of them, because man, it was like epic.
Yeah.
Crazy.
World was crushing it skateboard wise too. So would you get those? You would get those like the Smiling Devil decks and stuff. Like you would get all your packages would have like boards and like hoodies and just they had made outerwear for a bit there too. Like you would just get like tons of shit.
Yeah,
that's epic. That's really cool. That's a great sponsor at that time, huh? Yeah.
That's a funny story right there because I had a sponsor in Colorado called Shot Snowboards and free snowboards and Shot was the it was gonna be cool, but they were right when we had gotten a prototype, I got my first prototype with my name on it, a board, and I wasn't ready to be pro yet, but me and Jason King got a pro model and with our names on it, just like a sample board, and I still have that one.
Rad.
But then it went out of business.
Yeah.
But at least I had the I had that going for me where like my first meeting with World, where everybody was all, they didn't really know too much. They were skeptical of me, but so I went to the meeting and I was like, they're like, okay, so, they're asking me questions. I'm like, no, I already have a pro model with my name on it.
Nice.
And they were like skaters, so they didn't really know the deal.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I already have a pro. So that kind of gave me leverage to get a paycheck, or else I would have never gotten my first paycheck, but I had supposedly already had so I just told them like, and so they're like, oh, okay, well, like what kind of money are you asking for? And I just blurted out something like, I think it was $1,200, and I was like, didn't expect any of that, but they're like, all right, well, how about $8? I'm like, all right, but inside I was like, holy crap!
Yeah, you're like, I'm getting $800 to snowboard, man. I'm a fucking pro. Yeah. That's sick, dude. That's really sick. About my first turntable. Yeah, I could only afford one so far, but that was my first paycheck. That's awesome, man. So, where are you living in Utah at that time? What part of, like, right in Salt Lake?
Yeah, Salt Lake City.
Yeah, because I went and stayed with a friend, Seth, who lives in Park City, and that blew my mind. Utah's got that whole range is like a big giant circle, and like there's always good snow somewhere on that. And it's sunny, and you can access the back with like sleds and shit. How many years were you in Utah?
I think 15, 16.
Oh, fuck. Amazing.
Yeah, man. I went out there and never came back.
That's crazy. So would you have met Al Clark when he was living there?
No. Maybe met once.
Yeah.
But like we didn't get to hang out or anything.
Like, because I think he was staying with Tina and Mikey. Like, did you hang with the Bassages at all?
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah. That was another blessing. I love those. I love them. I love the Bassages. Like, yeah. Tina let me move with her in a rough time for me.
Rad.
And she let me move in, and she just totally looked out for me, and it was a freaking blessing to me. I love her to death.
What a sweetheart. Yeah, she's been on the show. And Mike, too, actually.
Yeah, man, such good people. I can't even stand it.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. I instantly was like, I need to buy 2-for-1 clothing. You know what I mean? Like, I want to support this guy's lifestyle. And,
yeah, totally.
Yeah, actually, in Nelson, there's a board shop called Tribute, and Shane from Tribute called me after hearing Mikey's interview and was like, I guess I got to order 2-for-1 now, huh? And I was like, hell yeah, you do. Yeah, that guy's awesome.
Hey, Eric, I gotta get my kid in the car into wrestling.
Yeah, bro, of course.
And so as soon as I get him into wrestling class, I'm good again.
Okay. Yeah, just call me back. I'll be here.
What do you do with it? Like, how much traffic does this get? How do you? Is this what you do for work, or like?
No, man.
How do you monetize?
This is my passion project, and I do get some gear Like Dakine gave me some gear this year, and I did a fundraiser, raised about $800, which was dope. But it was just like I just put on the Kazoo movie premiere, you know what I mean? So a bunch of cool companies gave me like space and paid to get the movie and shit. So that's nice. But I mean, $800 doesn't even cover like the the bandwidth that I got to pay to do it, which I don't. Yeah, which I don't care at this point. I'm doing it to. Because I enjoy talking to dudes like you, which is dope, and because it gives me some sort of feeling of being relevant in snowboarding still.
That's awesome. Yeah.
But you could monetize it. I think there's some other guys that are out there working on monetizing it. Mark Sullivan from Transworld is doing one right now where he's like putting out like 5 shows a week, and I think he's trying to make it his job.
Yeah.
Which, all the power to him, man. I hope it works for him, for sure. Like, my attitude... Actually, this is good. Sean Kern says hi.
Nice.
Yeah, he loves
tell
you,
him I
dude.
said, what's up?
Yeah, for sure. And he was telling me, like... He's like, bro, your attitude is wrong. You gotta fucking keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a great job, and you're doing something good, and you're gonna make some money from it. You know, like it's gonna pay off in the end. Like you're gonna make some cash. And I was like, I don't know, dude. I just don't like the praise or whatever. I'm like holding myself back. And he's like you. He's like really gone heavy into, like making himself a better dude. You know what I mean? Like really, he's read a lot of shit. He's done a lot of courses, and he is, and you know him from back in the day. He knows how to promote.
Yeah, he's sharp.
Yeah, he's sharp. He's heavy, dude. Like that guy is really like one of the most driven individuals I've ever met.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like he was saying, I'm gonna do great with this, and I'm like, that's good, thanks. But even in the back of my mind, I'm going, I don't know, man. You said it in the first half of the interview. Core is poor, right? But I would say rich is a bitch, dude. Like I don't think being rich is really gonna work for me because I don't want it. I want that in between, that like balance of like being able to love a thing. Like, you know, when you watch somebody who's out filming and they are not feeling it, it's their life is like, I've heard it from a lot of dudes, like Kevin Young, just going, one day he looked at somebody who was just like driving in their car to go to their lame job, and he's like, they're not afraid. You know what I mean? They're not on top of a line thinking like, I could break my leg today. They're just like going to their job and getting their paycheck, and their job is like easy. Why is my job so hard? You know?
That's insane. Because I thought you were about to say the opposite. Like, because that's the way I used to look at people. Like, or even like I remember every time we'd go on tour for videos or whatever we're doing, as soon as we'd hit the city, I'm like looking upward at all those buildings and like, what the fuck do they do inside there? Like, how could you stay in there all day? I was like, that. I'm deathly afraid of that.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I hear you, dude. And yeah, I would say I've had those moments. I've never had a moment like what Kevin Young was talking about, where I'm like, yeah, I wish that's not true. Sometimes when you're like running your own business, I did a distribution company that sold stuff, and you realize what it means to be the boss, like to have all of the bills.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Then you kind of go like, oh man, I sort of wish I could still just like draw a check and go home at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Draw a check, go home at the end of the day, and I don't think about work. So I have a job right now where that's my gig. I'm a mailman, so like I do my mailman gig. I keep my legs in shape for the winter, and gives me money for my family. I'd love to talk about your family, because you featured your family in some of your advertising stuff. Like, you got kids, right? Like, you have some kids.
Well, I mean, depending on the advertising stuff, the funny one was from World.
Yep.
And before I forget though, like, dude, these are important conversations because you said passion conversation, like passion project, and like, dude, I do this every day. I coach and train and teach mindset, and it's all parallel laws of success from snowboarding and everything else that I've done. But from reading all the books, it'd be like a whole coaching session. But like, dude, it's like choose your hard, because people think the job thing is hard, but I mean, it's easier, because it is, man. Like, okay, entrepreneurship is hard,
yeah,
but it's like choose your hard, because then the regular job thing is like, man, that's hard. Like that's 45 years, and if you kind of hit it hard for a certain amount of time, if you do, stick in there and go, make it with a passion, and you can't call it work if you love it,
right?
But you bust it out for 10, 20 years, that's better than 45.
Hell yeah.
And it's easier, like in the long run, like it, because it's not like it gets easier, it's you get better, right? Like as an entrepreneur, and you just got to stick in there and stuff and hit those. The hard parts is what is the best part. It makes you stronger. Like,
I like that. Choose your hard, right? Because you see people coasting through life, but it's very rare that, unless they're like a trust fund kid, that they're gonna have a fulfilled life. You know what I mean? I feel pretty happy with like the shit that I get to do, and like the passion project thing. I really do feel like at some point, like if somebody was paying me to bother you, not to bother you, to get you on the phone, I would feel like I gotta pay that forward, because nobody wants to hear my voice. They want to hear you. So I got to take that money they gave me and give it to you directly. That would be my thing anyway. If I made any money from this, it would be going to the guests. It'd be going to Sean Farmer. It'd be going to, Chris Roach and Revert Foundation. He was talking about exactly what you mentioned up front. It's hard for kids to get to the hill. So he's got a foundation where he's like raising money to get lift tickets and gear for kids that would otherwise maybe not be able to get up there, dude. So
yeah.
Like, I like that stuff. I mean, I totally understand. I would like to have a life where I have, a lot less financial responsibilities that I have to worry about, like where the money is taking care of itself. Sounds like you've been on that path for a bit, huh?
Yeah, man. Yep.
And it's working for you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, dude, like I can make money any way that I want, really. I'm not afraid of things. I'm like a risk taker and all that stuff. But like basically, I've found my passion project, and I can do it all freaking day because I love it.
Right.
So it's not work, right? But it's still a service.
Yeah.
So like you're doing a service that's valuable.
Sure.
You should be monetized.
You hear where I'm coming from though too, right? Like in today's day and age of Instagram free videos, all the media is free, right? For me, the most important thing is that the conversations are unimpinged by that thing that kind of fucked with snowboarding in the 90s. That thing that came in that, whether it's the Olympics or
and you have to watch out to not hurt every people's feelings and all that stuff.
Yeah.
No, so see that comes down to like a coaching though, and a coaching session, and like, not that I'm, whatever, but like it's, when you take sponsorships or whatever, then you maybe have to watch out because all these companies are scared to hurt feelings or whatever. But when you know how to monetize for yourself and drive traffic and create value, you have your own stuff that you like value, or partner with companies where you're just collecting commissions, not sponsorships. Yeah,
that's a great idea. I would be down for that for sure.
That's all affiliate marketing and stuff like that. Internet marketing, all that kind of stuff. That is a whole different game.
Yeah, that's rad. That's rad. Well, let's get back right to the snowboarding game, because you were on the World Industries team when that was fucking, like, was Rocco in charge of that? That was like Steve Rocco time?
Yep.
Dude, how fucking amazing is that, being a skateboarder who gets to be were you in like design meetings and shit with that energy, that like Steve Rocco, like let's fucking make this real, let's
No, not really. Like I was, because that all goes in inside the building. It goes on inside the buildings,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't even know him very good, But the fact that he was cool and wild, open to those kind of ideas, let my team manager and whoever gave them the ability to let me kind of come up with ideas, and that's how they came up with it. Like I came up with that baby's mama's ad and all that crazy stuff.
Yeah.
The fact that they were like, let that go is what, them being not scared to freaking be controversial, and
Cool.
all that was what gave it so much flavor, man. It's crazy skater stuff, bled into the snowboarding stuff.
Yeah, that was a really good. Around that time, Type A was doing it too, right? I think that Danny Way got in maybe a little earlier than that.
Yeah,
at around that same time.
A little bit earlier, yeah.
Yeah, and there was a lot of like skate flavor in snowboarding that was sick. I want to talk a bit about your parts, bro, and the fact that you land the way you land. Like, have you always stomped your shit so hard? Like, is that what got you noticed back in the day when your buddy was saying like, dude, you're good? Or is that something that you worked on?
I worked on it, man. I watched, I don't know, I saw different styles, and I rode with Jason King, who I just, like, Jason King, that was one of the first, like, I would just watch him and be like, that dude is so lofty, smooth.
Rad.
And then it just kind of came natural to me, that, little bit different style, but like, basically, I don't know, it reminds me of like, there's a saying, like, I'm more scared of the man who knows, or I'm more scared of the man who has done 1,000 of the same kick than I am the dude that knows 1,000 kicks.
Okay. Yeah. Of course.
Which means, like, kind of like the mastery, like you do it enough and you do it over and over and over again, then you really kind of get in tune and into flow and have your own like flavor about it. Like it just kind of settles in.
It's something that when I watch those parts, I'm like, dude, you were so unique. There's like literally a handful of people whose style is as defining as your style is. It's crazy, dude. I'm just watching those parts. I was like, fuck, I forgot. He's like one of my favorite dudes to watch snowboard, mostly because of the landings. That's the thing for me, is you command so much on the landings. Your flow's good in the air. Your takeoffs, everything's good. Great style. But your landings are like, I don't think there's anyone else out there that's that consistently, I'd say maybe a Devin Walsh, but even Devin didn't, stomp that hard. And he stomps hard. Like, yeah, dude.
That was definitely, he was one of my influences for sure. Like,
Rad.
I don't know, man.
Who did you look up to? Like, who you're saying Jason King, Devin Walsh is in there. Like, whose parts would get you like amped when you would watch videos back in the day?
Tarquin's.
Yeah.
Jay Nelson.
Rad.
Gilligan Yoder.
Fred Yoder, man. That's so sick.
That dude was so cool, man, to me. Like, I just, like, he is.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I was just surprised at how cool these guys were to me. Like,
that's a rad name that you bring up, because I went to Wendell's in 90 or 91, and Brian Harper and a bunch of people were like, Gilligan's going to be the next dude. He was on Lamar. He was like, his style was just like fat pants and just like gangster style.
Yeah.
Sick. Yeah, man. Yeah.
He was so out there, cool. Like, way outgoing. Just funny, man. Dope.
That's so dope, man. That's cool. So, what's your first video part where you realize like, okay, this is a job I could do. I could go out, I could film, I can put a part together?
It was these movies called, it was like because Kelly Flynn, the dude I told you about, like he was starting to do photography, and then he got into making movie. He wanted to do movies, and he did a promo merchandise teaser movie for this like a what do you call it, hardware? No, it was just like merchandise, like little kind of wacky company out of Boulder.
Rad.
So that was my first like it was like it had like funny little tools that like made your Sorel boots more stable, in the ankle area.
Yeah. There was a company called Bakota that had a bunch of stuff like that.
Yeah, like something like that, but a small one, right?
Yeah.
So he made it like a trailer, just like a promo vid for that, and I was in. Like he filmed me as part of it, and that was like. So then, then he got into wanted to do his own movies, and so he started filming all the pros, and I squeaked in there.
That's dope. Yeah, that's sick.
And then I started to, that's how I started to, I guess, gain recognition.
Get noticed. Yeah. And what were your favorite years? Like, is the whole thing just like one happy trip, or was it like Tech 9 was sick and World was a little bit of work, or was it like?
Oh man, yeah. I always talk about this all the time because it doesn't matter what it is. Like you power through it, right? Ups and downs. You lose sponsors. You break your freaking leg or whatever. Break your ribs. Got to get back up. Like lose another sponsor. The other ones don't pay. Like you just keep pushing through. I saw a lot of people give up. Quit right before they make it.
Yeah.
It was just like blow my mind because my first $800 check, I knew what I was gonna do. Like that was it. Like that was my way out, man. That was my way out of everything that I feared. Like listening to somebody tell me how much I'm worth and when I can go take a piss and be stuck in some building, and I just like that was my way.
Rad.
Like that first $800 check. It was after I started believing myself first. That was like the first part. But then once I got that $800 check, I'm like, that was it.
Yeah. Did you quit a job? Like, were you like, fuck that pizza place, I'm out. I'm making $800 a month, and that's enough for me to go.
Man, I don't know. Like, I can't really remember. There's little spaces in there because I would have this job. Like, I got canned from the job because I went to jail because I didn't have insurance and I had a warrant and blah, blah, blah.
Oh,
so
fuck.
I got canned from that, and then, went back to like other, just, getting my hustle on, looking for ways to make money.
Yep.
And so off and on jobs. I think that could have been my last real job though, right there.
Yeah.
Because in between there was a good couple of years where I didn't have a job. It was to get my hustle on.
Would you take summers off, or were you like you go to Hood or you go over to Strin or something for the summers to stay on your game?
Oh man, good question. I think no, it was basically summers off. Yeah, skating and hustling and skating.
Incredible. And did snowboarding in those big years, it paid all the bills? Like at some point you were like, sick. I'm making good money. I'm taking care of myself and my family.
Yeah, somehow like between an $800 check and selling snowboards and whatever else. Yeah. Like I made it happen after that.
Yeah. Dope. Well, let's talk. Like how does the career pan out? Like, cause I know you're good friends with Tara Dikitas, right?
Yeah.
She talks very highly of you. And I know that her story is more typical of most pros from that era, which is like 1 year she's got sponsors. I don't know if it was an injury or if there was she fell out of favor with somebody at MacDog or something weird happens. And the next year she finds herself on her own dime, like no fucking sponsors, or not enough to make it worth her, you know, like she's starting to stress, go like, shit, I got to do something to get paid here. And then 2 years after that, she's just like, I'm not paying my way to be a, you know, superstar snowboarder. This fucking sucks. Right? Like, and yeah. I'll tell you right now, the people that listen to this show, they're, you know, they hear that and shake their heads like, that's not the way this should be. Right? Like, we shouldn't be turning our backs on. Tara was such a fucking prominent world pro, like cereal box. You know what I mean? Like, she should be.
Yeah.
We should be honoring the fact that she did what she did when she did. So I don't know. Did you find it was kind of similar for you? Was there an injury that took you out, or was it companies folded and you're just like not ready to hustle to the next one to be like, you know, on the roster with some company you don't stand behind?
Man, you know, there's perspective changes, I guess, after you get wise, older, whatever. Mm-hmm. When you're younger, like, well, and what I noticed anyway, when people were younger, I remember I had an ego and I thought they should be doing so and so for me, you know, or whatever. But when I was just so from nothing that I was so appreciative of whatever I got that I would literally make myself so like over deliver,
mm-hmm.
And do as much as I possibly could, because I couldn't even believe it. I was like appreciative and I just like I loved everybody because they were so nice compared to where I came from. Like where I come from, you got to mean mug everybody and act all tough, and I was all quiet and, you know, kind of like acting tough or not even, you know, and there's like people were so freaking nice, man, that mm-hmm. I just loved them to death.
Right.
And they could tell, I'm sure, like, you know, and so I wanted to be worth more than they were giving me.
Right.
And I think that I didn't know what I was doing when I did it, but I think that worked pretty good. And then I was always really careful about the image,
mm-hmm.
not the money.
Right.
Because I wanted matching stuff, and then
yeah, dude.
Like, or, you know, like this. I mean, I just wanted alignment, you know, with me.
Yep.
I didn't know about that kind of marketing either yet.
Right.
I was just true, like real to myself. I was, you know, I was picky, man. Like you know, Spitfire wheels. Like I'm just a certain type that I don't, you know, I want what I want.
Cool.
And so then that, you know, that was like important. So I didn't really care about the money. There, you know, I lost certain sponsors, had a couple, you know, go through some rough spots. And then I remember one time when I did go against what I felt and rode for a sponsor. I guess I could name a name, but like, you know, Switch. I changed. I came off Tech 9 to ride Switch because they just flopped out a big old check for me, or big, what I thought was big, and I was like, holy crap!
Totally.
That was my first bigger check, like bigger.
Yep.
Big salary where I was like, I'll take it. You know, I'll be able to save money. Like, wanted to be smart with a career, like my career. So I learned a big lesson from that. It's like, as soon as you do that, that was a huge mistake because I didn't even know. Like I got real burnt out for a sec. I actually quit for a year.
Wow.
Yeah. After that, I quit. Like because I thought I didn't like snowboarding when really, I just kind of like stopped and I just wasn't into it. And I didn't realize that it was because I didn't feel comfortable on my board. So finally one day I'm like, you know, I'm going to just try these Tech 9s out again. I got on them and it was so freaking insanely comfortable. And I was so on point that day that I was like, I wasn't not into snowboarding. I just didn't feel comfortable like with my skate, you know, my snowboard on my feet. Like, yeah. It felt so good. And after that, man, I kind of had a re-explosion and went off. Like, I just freaking loved riding, and it felt stupidly comfortable. Like when you look down and you know you look good and you know you feel good, you're on point. It's just like, then the checks came again. I learned, so I learned my lesson there.
That's badass, dude. That's an epic story. I love that. Because, Stebbins coming back, dude. Like, Burton is putting it out there. And it's one of those things that is, I have a hard time forgetting, like, all the mistakes I've made. Like, wide boards. I have a regular size foot. Baseless bindings. Like I jumped on that all in. Step-ins, I was like, yeah, fuck for sure, that's my jam, you know what I mean? I rode switch for a couple of years and had a similar experience, if I'm being honest. It's like, I wanted them to work, but they didn't work.
Yeah, I thought I was good enough to make it work. Like, I thought that I could make that work. And I almost pulled it off, but like internally it's just, man, I learned a huge lesson about being true to what you feel. Yeah. What I felt.
So after you came back, were you full on Tech 9 again? Because I remember
just the bindings. It's just the bindings. The bindings changed everything. Yeah. Like it it was crazy. It was just bindings, like changed everything.
That's rad. What board are you on at this time? The Sims stuff?
I was on a world board.
Yeah, on World. Cool. And Sims was after. Was Sims after World or was it before? I can't remember.
After.
It was after. It was like that last cool kick at the can that Sims did with some badass shit. And your board sold well. I remember that. That was a fun time. So you came back with a vengeance. You put down heavy hammer parts, and you were starting to get, or continuing to get parts in like the major movies, right?
Yeah,
like, that's sick, dude. That's like all time. I love that.
Yeah, like right after that was on. I had some banger parts because I was feeling so good when I got through back to what I.
So do you think maybe having that year off like actually helped? Possibly.
No, I was miserable. But I was collecting a check, but miserable.
Oh man, yeah. So
I was thinking, I was already on my thinking, man, what am I going to do next? Okay, and I was already kind of plotting out and then I just randomly I'm going to throw these bindings on, and I went snowboarding, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I couldn't even freaking believe it.
That's dope. I love that. That's incredible. So you have a few more years after that, then obviously, like you're
major.
Yeah. Those are the major years of your career, and
well, not even kind. I mean, that, and then I had other breakthroughs that just. I mean, I made the most money later on. That usually after pros are done at like 30, 31. Wow. I had big breakthroughs after that.
Oh, that's sick. That's really sick. Okay, are you goofy or are you regular footed?
Goofy.
Fuck. Just because watching your parts, I'm like, okay, then that's switch. And then I'm like, no, because then that makes that switch. That can't be switch. There was a shot I saw tonight of the Chad's Gap, big front three, like too big front three. That was switch?
No, that was regular.
That was regular. Oh, yeah, that's goofy, right. Okay, sick. Yeah. But that's fat. That's like too big. Most people that go that big just eat it. So dope, dude. That's rad.
Right on, man. Or no, I mean that wasn't even Chad. That was Pyramid Gap.
Oh, Pyramid Gap. Yeah. Yeah. That thing is massive.
A lot of people say that. Yeah, it was. Yeah, fast.
Chad's Gap looks similar. Is that? Am I?
Dude, it's right next to it. Yeah, everybody gets them mixed up.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Well, let's talk about let's talk about the wind down of your career and how, like, what were the factors in pushing you to. Okay, so no, let's talk about this other breakthrough, like that you get to further on in your career, and what's that like, and where does that come from? Does that come from you, or does that come from some outside source?
Well, it was like, I was like kind of like living the rock star lifestyle, and just like not paying attention to what I'm putting in my, the food that I'm eating, all that kind of stuff. And I had crazy injuries. I had a detached MCL, and I was out, man, like for a while, a year.
With injuries.
Couldn't get my knee back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't get my knee back. I thought I was like losing sponsors, or I was losing sponsors eventually. It was like starting to now affect to everything, and I couldn't get back on my board. And not a lot of people know this whole story. They just think I, got like I freaked out on, just wellness and talking about cancer and all this stuff, because I found out about wellness, like antioxidants, supplements. Yeah. And I got turned on to that stuff, and like literally, so I tried some superfood drinks. Like some people know my story about getting into acai berry, and that was discovered, and it literally like changed my everything, man. Like, it seems kind of funny, but
no, man. Like I know that it's something that you could be a target for, right? We talked about this at the beginning of the thing, where somebody, where people don't understand, and then they just go, "This is a fucking wacky pyramid scheme," and Marc Frank's gonna take your money for whatever reason. They don't call you and ask you what the fuck is actually going on. Like, I know.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And that pissed me off, because as if I need $5, I'm going to try to sell somebody something, right? But like,
right.
So like I was jacked, man. Like my back, my knees, like I couldn't sleep. There was like holes in my wall. I'd punch the wall at night because it was just, my knee burned me. I couldn't get back. I was all like pissed, frustrated. Yeah. Tried everything. I've spent like $50,000 trying to get my knee back. Cortisone shots, pulse signal therapy machines, like all kinds of different technologies. Couldn't get it back. Yep. And then someone's like, "Man, you need to it was my ex. She's trying to tell me about the acai stuff." There's other people like, "Dude, you need to put the right things in your body." And so I started taking supplements and acai and stuff, and like my knee stops hurting. Rad. And not all the way like healed or anything, but man, I started to sleep through the night. So I'm like, holy crap, couldn't have been that, like that, the supplement stuff. So I'm like doing research and everything. And then I'm looking online. I'm seeing all the big pharma conspiracy stuff that they just want you to be sick, and how doctors only get paid when you're sick and something's wrong with you. So they're not really investing the time to teach you how to, heal yourself and all this humongous underground, man, I'm woke, I understand all this stuff now. So I started getting I was like, dude, this is huge, so I was all excited to try to tell people. And then, so I go from like pushing nasty, toxic energy drinks, where I'm the coolest guy ever, right, to trying to talk about something positive and healthy. Yep. And there's, and people are taking shots at me. I'm like, oh, okay, you motherfuckers want to for real? And so I started taking shots back. Yep. Talking hella crap, because man, our industry gets exploited by some of these big, huge billion-dollar corporations to take advantage of the cool guys. Totally. And so like I was doing some positive. Anyway, I won't go off on that tangent because it was kind of my own fault for being all defensive, But
I understand though, man. I understand.
Yeah, and I literally had I went back and basically apologized to even some of my friends and stuff. I was all excited. But I learned man, I was like, dang, if this is real, I'm gonna change my whole everything. I started eating raw salad, raw fruits, vegetables, changed my whole lifestyle. Rad. And it literally helped me heal my body, helped me with I helped my mom with her high blood pressure. I was starting to help people with things, and myself. It brought my career back. I literally was able to kind of heal myself back. And after that was when I was 31, it hit me like a brick wall, man, my health and my physical and my body. Yep. And dude, when I was 33, 34 is when I made the most money of my career, because then, X Games came, and one of my best friends, Todd Hahn, was my manager, and he's like, I just had all these breakthroughs. One day he goes, man, dude, help me help you. you know,
Rad.
As far as like more outside industry money, being on X Games when I didn't want to do it, and all that.
Yep.
And, I started taking things more serious. Like I wasn't stretching. I wasn't doing any of that stuff, And, but I did change my lifestyle, and I was just started getting into reading and then finding out all the things that I didn't know. And I just couldn't believe, I'm like, man, I can't believe I didn't know that. And most people they don't even know that stuff. They don't know the more we find out, and the more we learn, the more we find out what we don't know. And I just got all addicted to like, what else don't I know? I went down so many different rabbit holes in study mode for like the last 15 years, basically.
That's super rad, dude. It's so few people do it. You know what I mean? A lot of people turn off the learning at like high school or whatever. They get their
and then
job.
And so there's always somebody to talk shit to, right? Like, then they start going, oh, you're in some cult. It's like, yeah, it is. It's short for culture. Like,
sure.
You personal development snobs. It's like, so I was like getting mad and I was talking crap, not realizing that there's always going to be other people that have different beliefs and you can't do anything about them. They're always going to be there. So don't try to control other people and things that you can't control. Just control yourself. So I started doing that. And I never really acknowledged or replied or spent any time, into the magazines that were talking crap, because, they're still going to be there in 20 years talking crap because they're negative. There's always going to be somebody trying to say something, and you can't do anything about, don't even bother. There's a saying actually that we always joke about, is like, when people try to clown you or hate on you or, go after you for what you're doing or whatever, it's like, never go down to that level and wrestle with a pig and its shit.
Right.
Because basically, both parties lose, but the only difference is the pig likes it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I hear that, bro. I totally hear it.
So and people are always like, why didn't you say anything back? It's like, dude, I'm too busy freaking getting my, my success on.
Yeah.
At least trying. Failing forward, man.
Failing forward. That's a great idea. I feel like a lifetime of learning is the only way to really, there's a lot of dudes like you, man. There's a lot of people out there that are like, this is, I mean, you look at, I like listening to podcasts. You look at Joe Rogan, the way he talks about nootropics and the way that he goes with, double blind science testing of all this different stuff that is just like, where he gets experts on that could just tell you, you know what, this shit is real. And especially for me, it was like, I grew up with a lot of guilt around doing drugs. Right. And I'm just talking about like mushrooms and smoking some pot and maybe a bit of acid here and there, but I really did feel like a second-class citizen because I'd made these choices to like smoke a bit of pot, like, oh, the guy's a druggie or whatever. And then when you hear what the real deal is, when you realize, holy fucking shit, sugar's a drug, chocolate's a drug, coffee's a drug, caffeine's a drug, all this shit's drugs. Why are they so invested in making you feel bad? You know what I mean? And I think we're coming to an era where kids aren't going to feel bad about shit that's just made up, that you should feel bad about it. I don't think you shouldn't feel bad learning how to be a better person, learning how to sell stuff or learning how to market things that are going to help people. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, I mean, you just always got to watch, of course, everyone has an agenda kind of for what they're saying. A lot of times into like, then they have their rules for their beliefs of what they believe and why they believe it and all that stuff. And everybody has different beliefs, right? So it's like, it's what causes war and stuff.
Totally.
Like,
a really good saying or a really good thing I heard in the last year is that if you still believe with the same resolution in everything that you believed in like 5 years ago, you need to do some reading. You know what I mean? Like if
Yeah.
if you developed your opinions when you were in high school and now you're like 50, dude, you need to get out of that mode. It's
Well,
time,
and you
time
need to think
learn.
about the the legs of that table, like the foundation of it is like, where did you get the belief from, right?
Mhm.
So I always explain, like, when you're taking advice or opinions of somebody, you might want to check the results and the success that person has in the area they're speaking, because if they don't have success in that area, I wouldn't take advice from them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whether it's business, like, or relationships or whatever, like, you know.
Yeah. Advice is the cheapest commodity on earth. Everybody will give it to you. It's just free.
Yeah, free because it's so valuable, right?
Yeah.
So, like,
Well, it is nice to talk to someone like yourself that actually, when I talk with my, I hate to say it, I sound like such a geek, but yeah, when I talk with my heroes of snowboarding, there's a feeling that I get about myself about, like, I've been a passionate snowboarder for a very fucking long time, and I really do feel like there's a reason that people get to the top of that game. A guy like yourself, or a Kevin Jones, or a Noah Selaznick. It's because people are cut from a different cloth. You know what I mean? Like, you grew up, if you didn't believe in yourself when you were young, by the time you were getting those video parts, fuck yeah, you believed in yourself, and that's sick, dude. There's something to be said for that.
yeah, you got to go after
Mm-hmm.
what you believe in,
Mm-hmm.
like, and stick up for what you believe in. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't want conflict or enemies, then just don't stick up and stand up for what you believe in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man.
Like, so you're automatically going to get haters and enemies and all this stuff. Like, that's I feel like I almost feel bad for how crazy the internet and social media is now, because there's so many negators and people that can get out there and tell their opinions and belief. I'll never forget, like, so many times I think back, I'm like, one time I was on the lift and Chaz Goldman was down under there, and people like to crack on him, on everybody cracks on some people, right? So then there was these other kids that were on the lift kind of cracking on him, like, oh, Ted Goldman, blah, 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 right? And he was such a cool dude, like that. He, like, such a positive, happy kind of person that he just kind of, he didn't, if it was me, like, I wasn't very developed, like, like, I didn't have the personal development I have like now, but it's like, back then I would have been like, motherfucker, what? Like, I'll see you at the fucking bottom, bitch. Like, just wanted to kill him.
Yeah.
But he was just like, he kind of just waved him off. He's like, yeah, cool, whatever. He kind of brushed it off, and it's like, that's why he's where he's at right there.
Yeah.
Because he can take it, right? But like, and but those kids will never get to his level ever, because like I said earlier, they'll never subconsciously be able to go there, because they're so scared of being the person that's made fun of and all that stuff.
Yeah, trolls on you mentioned internet, like, trolls are like the lowest of the low. It's like, it feels like the worst of society, and it always feels like it's some, like, little kid, like a 10-year-old, 12-year-old, 14-year-old boy that doesn't know what he's doing, saying the most heinous shit to people. It's like, wow, man, that's not going to get you anywhere. But neither is reacting to it. You know what I mean? You can't read the comments. I think that's what people say. You got to just fucking... Yeah,
and it's like, it's kind of sad, because the internet is like the bathroom stall of information, right? Anybody can jump on and get putting out their opinions and all that stuff.
So how many years you do the X Games for? And what were your events? Did you do big air?
Just slopestyle.
Slopestyle. Yeah, those slopestyles were fun, man. That was a whole new way of doing stuff. Hey, like, to have, like, big media coverage on, really good courses and fair judging and stuff. You were able to make a go of it, make a career of that for a few years.
Yeah, I was like, I wasn't there to, like, totally try to be, champion number one or anything, but just to be on TV, because that's what the outside industry, bigger sponsors wanted, is more eyeballs, right?
Totally. Yeah. That's the original, the original like system. So many likes.
Yeah. So like I as part of it, like I made it happen like with my own steez as long as I'm in there, but like kind of being different with my own style and not trying to be like number one, but doing it my own way.
That's dope, man. That's
It was cool. Made it fun. Big parties.
That's awesome. Who were you riding for at this point? X Games years.
I think it was probably end of Sims and definitely Nitro.
Nitro. So you go to Nitro from Sims. Nitro's a company that has had a real resurgence the last couple of years of fucking And they were always cool. They always had a good team, dude. Right from back in the beginning. Cool people. Yeah. Yeah, very cool people. I like that company. I had a Pyro like way back in the day, and it was a good board, man. Like asymmetrical side cut and shit, like way back in the beginning. Good construction, rode really well. Yeah, Nitro's dope. Yeah. And so, did you have a year where you said, "Okay, this is it, I retire," or were there a few years where you were drawing a paycheck and you were like, "I don't know how many contests I'm going to do," kind of thing?
Yeah, well, like I kind of planned it out. Like like I knew I couldn't snowboard forever, and I watched a lot of people that didn't have a plan B, and like I was already reading books by then, and when I was launching my own companies, I literally went, like, I realized pretty quickly as soon as I got into business, like you can imagine, you can't, like, it's really hard to go back to a normal job. Once you're making $500,000, $1 million a year or whatever, like you can't go back to anything normal. And like I was basically ruined, like psychologically unemployable. Yeah, that's a good thing if you make it work, right? So I was like, launching, like I was like, man, I got to stop making other people rich. I'm getting taken advantage of. I got, taken advantage of and robbed basically of money and, opportunity, like just, crazy stuff. But I was failing forward, like learning from, so I was starting my own businesses, launching them, learning, making mistakes, but then it's like, this is the same as snowboarding, man. It's like, oh, you crash and burn, and then you're like, okay, now I know not to do it like that next time. Right. And so it's not a failure, it's feedback, it's course correction. That's what people, like, I had some, like I said, like the magazines are like, oh, he failed, it's like, well, yeah, you're scared to fail. I keep failing. I invite failure so I can learn and get bigger, stronger, better every time. Right. And so I was doing that, and I was like, just kept reading. But basically, when we had these businesses, I went from like, I don't know, man, like I went from traveling and having freedom and being around my kids to seriously being super busy, stressed out, overhead, mortgage, insurance, paperwork, employees, like crazy, work. Like a lot of times business owners realize that, like, they're, we don't really, we just like bought ourselves a job. Basically. Yeah. And it's like, man, I was missing, I like lost my lifestyle. Right. Missing time with my kids and all that stuff. So then I was like studying more, like, man, okay, how do I, this whole financial freedom thing and getting into home business and trying to figure out the internet, like 24-hour income, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So I was working on that for 10 years straight, pretty much through the end. So I'd have an easy transition. Yeah. And were you able to make that work for you? Like, that's where you're at now? Yeah. I struggled for the first 3 years straight, like, oh man, but I was still snowboarding and stuff. So I just took that time to learn, and I would just, in my spare time, like I was DJing, rad, freaking, getting really good at that. I could charge pretty good money for DJing. So that was one of the plans of fallback. That's right. But then I got super passionate about the, all the stuff that I do now. It's like home business, freaking, internet laptop lifestyle kind of stuff.
So is it something that you can, put out there in a way that the listeners can relate to it? You know what I mean? Like, is it something you can say, like, okay, this is what I do, or is it too complicated to get into in a, short conversation?
Yeah.
Is there somewhere that we can send our listeners if they're interested in figuring out, what you're doing and how to get involved? Let's just put it that way then. Like, that's probably the easiest thing.
I guess, like, it's not for, like, you see it a lot online. I don't know if you've seen all that stuff. It's like, oh, my simple system's going to make you rich. And there's a bunch of, like, make money from home stuff and whatever. And, like,
there's a whole industry of videos of how to make those videos. You know what I mean? Like, that's where we're at now. We're at that spot.
Like,
we're at that spot.
Because, it's like they call it different levels of market awareness. Like, a lot of people just have jobs and they're not really aware that there's a problem. Like, what's wrong with working till I'm 65?
Right.
Like, they're okay with that.
Totally.
So it's not for most people, right? And then there's people that want to get in and they think it's a get rich quick thing. So they never even look into it, right? Like, you see the books, make money from real estate on, like 2 a.m. and most people they'll just sit there and go, no, it's a scam. Right.
Yeah.
And so that's one level of person, right? And then the next level would be like people that are like, I don't know, they'll maybe get, oh, that's they might buy the book, but they'll never read it. It just sits on the coffee table, right?
Yeah. That's probably most people.
Like, yeah. And there's different industries. There's simple ways to get in. I have simple ways. I'm not going to list any websites or anything like that. It's like,
you can if you want, dude. Like, this is an open forum. You know what I mean? Like, Mark, they can follow you on Facebook, Marc Frank Montoya's Mindset, right? Like, that'll give people an idea, or is that?
Yeah, that's my personal.
Okay, I won't put that out there.
I guess you can have followers on there too, but like I use the back end. I use the back end of Facebook to like laser target people that are already interested in making money from home and all that stuff. Like, they're already looking. Yeah. So, but then there's like, I like to talk about this stuff because it's just all the same parallel laws of success. Like, you got like, you don't go into snowboarding and buy a bunch of boots and snowboards, and then like, oh man, what a scam. Like, I freaking paid all these hundreds of dollars of stuff and $1,000 for my whole setup. And I've been snowboarding this whole 3 months and I'm not getting any money.
Right.
Like, right. It's like silly shit.
Yeah, dude. Totally.
And so we all have this auntie or uncle that's tried something and failed and goes around saying it's a scam when they just quit. They're quitters.
Yeah.
It makes all that stuff look bad,
Totally.
Some people actually get the book, read the book, take the action, fail a couple times, learn from it, dial in, and go into mastery. And that's when you have specialized skills. There's a golden rule: 10,000 hours or 10 years of practice and training until you have specialized skills, and then you're in the big money.
Right.
But most people are dabblers.
Yeah, or all those people that you just laid out there, like that covers most of the people. And I think that's kind of, you're going to get the same kind of number of people at the top that you would get in snowboarding, right? Like, I wanted to be a fucking pro snowboarder. Of course I did. Until I realized what the job was. Then I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. It's a little scary. You know what I mean? Plus, that would mean I got to quit my full-time job. I got to snowboard every day because I got to get as good as these guys. Like, I rode with Devin Walsh when he was in high school still. And I was like, I will never be that good. No matter how hard I try, I will never be as good as him. And so I just looked at it and said, well, I can't. I could be like a B team rider for some people, but I'm not going to quit, making money the way I know how to make money. You know what I mean? Which is like, go to a job 40 hours a week and go snowboarding in the afternoons or evenings or weekends or whatever. That's just how I was at that time. I know about making money through, like, just in the industry, the difference between distributing stuff and like good ideas, right? Like, we saw good ideas come through snowboarding. You'd see something, you'd be like, oh, that shit is sick, And
Yeah.
and then somebody was making money on it. Some distributor somewhere would get a hold of some great line, and for a few years when it's hot, they're making tons of cash, dude. And that's not the guy at the shop that's selling it to people. You know what I mean? I knew that.
Yeah, there's
I
all kinds of different, business models out there, like
yeah.
online and all that stuff, but they're all kind of the same, which
Yeah.
is like, okay, you got to stick in there and invest the time and be consistent and learn them. There's systems you can follow, and you get skilled within the systems, and depends on what your passion is and what you can be passionate about. Where you just like snowboarding, if you love it enough, you'll go a lot because you love it, and you'll automatically be good because you're always doing it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not a job.
Yeah, people ask a lot, like, "Oh, hey, you snowboard? Like, can you teach me how to snowboard?" And if you're nice and you like them enough, and you go up the mountain with them, and you help them tie their boots, and you get them on the lift, and then they fall down at the top, and they go, "Okay, well, now what?" You go, "Now you just got to ride." What do you mean? Like, you got to ride all the time, every day. I have friends of mine that I ride with. Sometimes they'll say, "Man, how do I get good? Like, I want to go off jumps." I'm like, "Dude, you haven't snowboarded this year. You want to go off jumps? You got to go snowboarding all year, dude." And then start hitting jumps. It's the simplest thing, but people want to be good. People want to be, Marc Frank Montoya good. That's not going to happen if you don't put in the time. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen for most people anyway, because you got to be predisposed to have that drive to go out there and shred all the time, which I'm glad that you did, because watching those parts again today, I'm like, that shit is real. That's what gets me stoked on snowboarding. People these days will talk and say, like, Willie was talking, saying how kids don't have like the models to look up to, like the people to look up to. Everything's kind of like, Instagram mentality, and like there's real Olympics is kind of sucking the soul out of the sport, but that's not true, man. When I watched the Lobster movie, those guys are like the you of today. You know what I mean? Like, totally not going to be defined by somebody else telling them what they have to do.
Exactly.
They have to have, they're doing stuff with their style because they wouldn't take less than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're sick too, and you can tell they love it. Like, they love what they do. So
yeah, it makes it fun as fuck to watch, dude. That's what always and I want to thank you personally. Like, I always got a serious kick out of watching your parts, because it comes across you love snowboarding. It's dope, dude. How much do you snowboard now? You still get out there sometimes?
Yeah, but I moved to Colorado, and I used to live 14 minutes from Snowbird, and it was all sweet and fun and easy to get up there and all that. Now it's like, man, the traffic got all crazy over here on I-70, and it takes like hours to get up there, so it's like harder to motivate. So I'm picky. Yeah, but I'll go to Japan and
sick.
Look for their good powder here and there, and when it's the bomb.
Yeah, you met my buddy Nick from Salmon Arms there last winter. He said you were such a dude.
Right on, man.
He was like, "Oh man, you gotta interview that guy. He's a fucking serious dude. Like, just a really nice guy." I was like, "Yeah, fuck yeah."
That's awesome.
Let's talk family. You're a family guy, right? Like, so that were you a family guy through the whole thing? Were you like, you alluded to that World Ad was like a fucking badass joke?
Yeah. It was a joke. I had a kid at that time too.
Damn.
But I was younger, and it was still more about me at that time.
Yep.
But my wife, lady at the time, baby mama, she was hella funny and cool with it. She let me do whatever. And so she like good humor and let me do that ad and all of it, but I was a little, it's almost like I was selfish. Like, it was all about me still.
Yeah. Yeah,
And,
you did well with the ladies. From what I've heard from other pros, you did very, very well. Like the women like too.
That's funny. Yeah, like I was about that. Yeah, man, that's hard to, you know. That's a funny subject right there.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no, that's dope. That so you were taking your kid to wrestling there while we took a break. How old is you've got one kid right now that you're like full-time dad?
Yeah, I'm like all the way full-time dad now.
That's the
he's
opposite.
5.
That's the opposite of selfish, huh?
Yeah, it is. Like, you know, everything has shifted, and it's like it's so different. Like I was younger then and not fully absorbed. Like, you know, I just now I can't get enough. It's like I'm so absorbed and like absorbing so much and so present.
Dope.
Like and I know more. Like I've become a better father, person. You know, I know I'm really aware. Try to be aware of things that I say and things that I do. That because everything's, you know, programming, right? Like we're programmed since day one. It's like an empty hard drive, and then everything that starts going in there is just. It's not cemented, but man, it's a program. Yeah. Like, and so you gotta be aware. And I'm so lucky that my mom was aware, pretty, you know, from reading a lot of books and being around the right environment. That she didn't really give me a lot of limiting beliefs, and she would do little things like, I'll just give you one example. Like, okay. You know, because the average kid hears the word no, stop, no, don't, you know, all that stuff like freaking a scary 44,000 times before he's even 4 years old or something crazy like that. You know?
Totally.
And she had read a bunch of stuff of like, you know, the right books and things. And I remember like so clear that when I would jump off of stuff like little ledges and rocks and things, you know, like when we were around other people, she knew that I could kind of hear, but I wasn't paying attention, but I could hear, and it would go into the subconscious, you know? And I remember thinking that I was like a graceful, super strong tiger, like, because she would tell them, and like she knew that I could kind of subconsciously hear, and she would always go, look at him, look at how strong and graceful he is, like a tiger. Like,
that's sick.
And I always thought I was like superhuman, you know, and she supported the things that I did, even though most other people that were close to me were like telling me, what are you gonna do with that stupid skateboard? You need to go to school and get a job, you know, and like, and when are you gonna stop that? When are you gonna stop hurting yourself? When are you gonna, and like closest people to you are usually, you know, giving you some crazy advice that they think they're helping you, but really they're crushing your dreams. That, you know, if I would have listened to that, I'd be stuck in some building doing something I hate or whatever, you know. Yeah, and because of, you know, the things that she knew to do is, I know part of the reason why I, you know, I'm doing what I'm doing.
That's rad. So the whole snowboard industry owes your mom a big thank you, man. That's dope. That's really cool.
Yeah,
that's touching, bro. I really, I'm glad to hear that you're growing into the dad that that your kid deserves. That's dope. That's really, really nice. Yeah. It's been a fucking crazy pleasure talking to you, Mark. Is there anything that you want to say? Anything you want to plug before we kind of wrap it up?
No, man. I appreciate the time and the platform and what you're doing, man. I should really, you know, go after it.
Thanks, homie. Yeah, I will for sure. And yeah, get in touch.
You're already going after it. Shit, that's awesome.
Kind of. I'm not going like, you know, I'm not going crazy. I'm not thinking of it as a job. I'm just thinking of it as service that I'm providing for free that costs me money to provide for people. I'm fine with that, dude. I really, really am. But you need to get in touch with Currents and reconnect with that guy, because he's on a similar path, and he's been doing a lot of reading, and fuck, guy's like a guru, dude. It's insane. And he really
Awesome.
He has a big place in his heart for you, man.
Yeah, same. Likewise, I'm just grateful for most of the people in the industry and that have supported. Like, I do want to say that. Like, I'm so grateful, and I don't even like to talk about it much because I'll sit here and I don't like crying in front of everybody. But like, man, I just like I wouldn't have been much without people like you and supporting, and people that backed me and looked out for me. Like, I wish I could just sit here, but it'd be all night sitting here naming off friends.
Yeah.
But I'm so thankful, man.
That's dope. That's awesome, Mark. All right.
Yeah.
FNRad shout-outs this week to everyone who came up to Mount Seymour for the first day of the year, for me anyways, on Saturday after the Dinos premiere. It was super fun. All right, I'm putting on the waffle this week to try and raise some money. I'm going to put the money towards a logo for the show, so then we can have stickers and t-shirts and stuff like that, some swag to sell. Go to Waffle House of Snowboards on Facebook, and as soon as we sell those tickets, Rob Dow will get working on your custom wired snowboard, and then I will talk to you after you ride it a bit, and we'll put it all on the show. Thanks for supporting the show, and make sure you come back next week for another episode of the FNRad Snowboarding Podcast, brought to you by SIA Productions.